All right, it's starting time, so we'll get going on time. Again, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me for this webinar on unlocking value creation with rapid plant analysis. And we'll go through the methodology and leave some time for questions at the end. This is, I'll be sharing some proprietary information, which shouldn't be reused without the express consent of Lean Focus Consulting. Let me introduce myself. I'm Kevin Sutherby, Senior Vice President of the Lean Focus Lean Practice. My background is I spent a number of years with a large consulting organization, did a lot of process consulting, and then bought a manufacturing company and really began to apply a lot of the lean principles, pretty self-taught at that point in my company, and really enjoyed that and had a good success run there. After a few years, I sold that business to a private equity firm, and I joined Danaher Corporation. And I was at Danaher Corporation for a little over 10 years. I started there in their Danaher Business System office, and Danaher is pretty widely regarded as a very successful lean company that's been on their lean journey for almost 40 years. But I learned a lot of lean work there, working with new acquisition companies and helping various companies to get started or continue on their lean journey. And then I went on from that position, and I ran several different companies, one on the product ID platform, one in the medical diagnostics platform, and then a group of companies in the sensors and controls business. And that time I really had the opportunity to lead businesses that were, in some cases, just starting their lean journey and helping them with the lean transformation. Other businesses were well down the path, and I was just helping to continue and expand the lean maybe outside of the production environment and focusing more on sales and growth and new product development aspects of the lean journey. So I left Danaher a few years ago, went to a private company and helped create a lean environment organization there, and we sold that, and I joined Lean Focus. And I'm doing more of the same type of work with many different clients these days. So a little bit about Lean Focus. We're a culture transformation partner. We believe that achieving high performance lean culture really relies on three pillars. First, leadership with intrinsic lean values that guide their behaviors, and they lead by example. Guiding principles to give the company a sense of purpose. We've identified 14 guiding principles that you'll see throughout our training and our work if you had the opportunity to work with us. And then the third pillar is really a proven system, and that's really a set of structures, tools, and processes that are integrated to help enable companies achieve the high performance culture that they seek with a lean environment. From a lean focus perspective, our vision is to build lasting high performance cultures. Our mission is to change the old ways of thinking and to be fact-based and to be results focused. And that's a big change in a lot of businesses. Our values are really about respecting every individual, leading with humility, staying Gemba focused, and setting high expectations. So there's just a quick aside here. There's several brochures on Lean Focus in this webinar, and you can feel free to download those. There's one on our consulting practice, one on our talent search arm, one on our content licensing, another on the Lean Transformation Academy, which is a facility we have to do lean training. And then there's also one specifically on the rapid plant analysis. So please download any of those that may be helpful to you. This is sharing some of our customers across a variety of industries. So Lean Focus is not a wide range of consultants from little experience to heavy experience. We're all very experienced, call that gray-haired, lean consultants that have had 30, plus years in the industry or in an industry or working with Lean. And I think this chart really just shows the breadth of where Lean can be applied. It's really applicable in any industry and certainly in any business process. I think the key takeaway here is that Lean is sometimes thought of as being manufacturing based, but the principles really apply to any business and any process. Okay, so let's talk about rapid plant analysis, which is what you all joined to learn a bit more about today. So one of the things with focusing on rapid plant analysis is that we partner with our clients to achieve results, not Kaizens, but results that shareholders and stakeholders care about. So the most important value drivers in your business are going to be specific to your business at a point in time, but in the end, the real value is going to be created by sustaining the results of the changes that you want to make. And that can be on the growth side of the business, focusing on some of these product expansion, pricing realization, focusing on profit improvement, or focusing on working capital reduction. And we use those specific measures that you're prioritizing in your business to determine what the priorities of your Lean journey should be as we do a rapid plan analysis with your team. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the next few slides. So the Lean business system toolbox consists of a broad range of tools. And if you start at the bottom, that there's these guiding principles that I mentioned earlier that really guide, they're the basic Lean thinking things that go all the way through all of our tools and processes, from Kaizen mindset, creating pull, respecting others, all of those types of very important guiding principles. Then you've got the sort of 9 foundation tools. These are problem solving, daily management, value stream mapping, very important fundamental things. And those foundation tools will get you 80% of what you need to do to complete a Lean transformation. But on top of that, we have the growth system, the Lean system, and the leadership system, which are a lot of very specific tools targeted towards very specific processes in your company, and those, on the growth, Lean, and leadership side of the business. So this is all part of the Lean business system. We have tools in all of these, which is part of the value that we provide in a Lean transformation, is you can license this Lean business system and make it your own. The rapid plan analysis is here kind of in the middle under the cost side. It's really a diagnostic tool to develop that roadmap for how you can make improvements in your plant and get started on your Lean journey. So what is a rapid plan analysis? It's a tool used to identify opportunities to reduce costs, reduce lead time, reduce inventory, increase throughput, whatever your specific objectives are, always while maintaining customer service and quality, looking at all aspects of the business. The output of a rapid plan analysis will be quantified and summarized as a Lean transformation plan with an emphasis on the return on investment and specifying which tool to use for each step in the process. The client selects which projects are going to be done along with Lean focus after we've completed the analysis. So the roadmap is really a roadmap created collaboratively in terms of what you think and prioritize about your business and how you want to measure ROI on the path forward. Then we help you to execute Kaizens to capture those opportunities and transfer our knowledge to you as you go through that Lean transformation process. So think of a rapid plan analysis as really kind of a Kaizen approach or continuous improvement approach where we take a week or longer, depending on the size of the plant, to really focus on what's the path going forward and how do we get alignment on that. So if you think about, one of the key questions that everybody, wants to know and consider is, what kind of results can you expect to uncover within RPA. RPA is rapid plan analysis. So, it depends on what the focus is and what the needs are of your business. But, we can look at all aspects or any aspect of the business, from, productivity to growth to increasing capacity and CapEx avoidance. We can, focus on reducing space if you've got, growth needs or acquisition integration, needs that you need to make, focusing on, OEE or overall equipment effectiveness. So it really depends on your business, but these percentages on here are ranges that we typically see. And another, kind of a broader range is it's pretty common that we find in the range of 5 to 10% of sales is identified as savings opportunities. So if you have a $100 million, business plant, supporting $100 million, might be $5 to $10 million of savings opportunities identified. So when the value of the rapid plan analysis is taking a step back and looking at, all aspects of the business and creating that path forward and that sense of priorities based on, how, what's important to you and your business in terms of measuring the return on investment for that rapid plan analysis. So just next section here, I'm just going to describe, what we do in a rapid plan analysis and how we do it, so that you have a good sense for that. But it really starts with a broad overview of the plant. So to kind of get a lay of the land and really start to identify from the very first part of the analysis, where are the opportunities where we want to go deeper from an overview of the plant. We look at the sales and marketing throughput side of things because we find in a lot of cases that, let's say, on-time delivery is an issue that is important and you want to address in your plant. Well, how much of your delivery time is being consumed by, getting a product through sales, marketing, and into the system, and so it can be planned and executed. So that's, kind of one of the things that we often find is there's opportunity there if on-time delivery is critical to you. We also look at inventory, looking at the different stages of inventory, raw, work in process, and finished goods, to understand, what's going on with inventory, how many days of inventory do we have on hand, what's the span of our lead times, and where is that inventory, and are there opportunities for reducing working capital or improving the throughput of the overall operation, possibly by adding inventory in certain locations. We also look at the manufacturing costs and operations and really try to zero in on what are the big pools of costs, where are they, which ones are controllable. There's certain fixed costs that in the short term we're not really going to do a whole lot about. So let's focus on and make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of where the opportunities are. Always focus on quality to make sure that we understand if there's fundamental quality issues that need to be addressed. Could be scrap, could be throughput related, could be customer related, external PPM type of measurement. We focus on, we look at warehousing in some plants. That's a big part of the operation. In other places, it's much less. So it depends on the situation, but really trying to understand how the flow of manufactured product goes into the warehouse and how those are stored and then picked and prepared for shipping. We also look at maintenance and overall equipment effectiveness and lean office, kind of making a holistic view of the 360-degree view of the whole process. It allows you to have a clear sense of where are the biggest opportunities that we want to target, maybe in the next 12 months to really move the needle on the key metrics that we're trying to improve. So the process is pretty straightforward. Step one is to make sure that we have a clear strategic direction, and this is with the plant leadership team. Discussion about what's the strategy, what are the operational goals, any key issues that we're trying to make sure that we address, any future plans. and really kind of getting that focus narrowed down to what are the key metrics, one or two that we really want to have a focus on as we go through and look at the plant and prioritize the opportunities to develop that roadmap. And step two is the data collection phase. So we do some pre-work with some data collection, but this is really the Gemba, or Gemba is the Japanese term for where the real work is done. It's the observations of looking at the value streams, doing spaghetti diagrams, looking at organization charts, downtime analysis, a variety of things, and as well as productivity, tack time compared to cycle time, cross operations to identify bottlenecks or potentially waste opportunities that can be reviewed, and always looking for value added versus non-value added activities. And this is really done in a team environment, Kaizen kind of atmosphere, so that your team is learning how to do this, each of these analytical exercises as we go through the plant. And then the last step is based on all of that data collection, all those observations. We try to synthesize this down into, what's the roadmap going forward that we need to do to maximize the return on investment for your lean initiative. So there's two parts of that. So there'll be a series of 1-week Kaizen events. Those might focus on productivity and throughput, order to delivery, production planning, inventory, logistics, material management, any things from the observations that we see and that are going to lead us to improve those metrics that you're trying to improve. And there may also be a couple of longer term projects identified, general, 6S opportunities, or visual management in the plant, or value engineering. So if there's opportunities to focus on the redesigning some parts to make them products, or to make them easier, to make less congestion in the plant, to increase throughput, those might be longer term projects that are identified that would not be part of these 1-week Kaizens. We typically, we do have Kaizen tools to launch those types of efforts, but they typically take longer than a week to get results. So in these 1-week Kaizen events are things where we go into a specific area of the plant and break it down, look at the current process, identify waste, try storm ideas for making improvements, try those out, and put the new process in place so that by the end of those week-long Kaizen events, that part of the process has been improved and it's up and running. And on Monday after the Kaizen event, it should be running according to the new plan and being monitored by daily management that's in place. So a typical week-long calendar, and again, it depends on the complexity of the plant, but often we do this in a week, and it'll be kind of Monday morning with some introductions, looking at some of the pre-work and analysis, doing an overall walkthrough of the plant. Monday afternoon, doing a value stream map, looking at the materials and information flows, really trying to understand, get a basic sense for the main value stream in the plant. Tuesday, we'll look at operations data, employees, looking at material, labor, and overhead, the cost structure. In the afternoon on Tuesday, looking at inventory. We often do a brown paper exercise where we with the team, we trace order to shipment, the physical transaction as well as the electronic transaction all the way through the process. And we'll start the future state mapping. After, we've done the current state, we've made a lot of observations, start the thinking process for what could this value stream look like in the future after we eliminate some of these wastes that we've identified. Wednesday is more about observations on the floor, maybe diving in deeper to some of the key processes where we identified potential bottlenecks or quality issues. We'll have a small team go and make observations and really confirm whether there's opportunity there. We do an exercise where we go around the plant, and I'll talk more about this, and just check some of those key areas and look at uptime and kind of a maintenance review process. And we'll go, kind of have a management review on Wednesday to check in and make sure we're keeping everybody informed. Finish this the brown paper process, look at logistics, look at the kind of the customer service and sales support processes and how they feed the plant if there's any issues there. Thursday we start to wrap up and do some additional analyses based on the areas that we've seen, building a final presentation and working with the team on Thursday afternoon, Friday morning to really prioritize all these observations, all these analyses that we have made. How do we, rack and stack those so that we make sure we pick the smallest number of actions over the next year that are going to get us the biggest impact on the metrics that are important to you as a client. So it's a pretty fast moving week, but part of the week is that, your team learns how to do all of these analyses. So, best practice here is that, plants, go back and do this, approximately every year and just kind of reassess and build the roadmap for the next year as they continue on that never-ending lean journey. So in terms of resources, we, typically we want the general manager or the plant or site manager to be involved to kind of help set the tone and be there to ask questions and provide, direction if there's big questions about, is this important or is that important? Key department stakeholders that might be, planning, supply chain, maintenance, obviously some of the, manufacturing leadership and supervisors. Sometimes, human resources is involved there. We usually have the controller or some financial person related to the plant so that we can gather data and confirm data as we go throughout the week. And then as we find specific departments where there's an issue, we might want to grab somebody from a department that has specific insight or interest. And as I pointed out earlier, sometimes we'll go a little bit deeper into an area to confirm that yes, this is indeed a target-rich area that we want to go after in our roadmap. So, these people, kind of come in and out depending on what analysis that we're doing and where their expertise is. But what's really good about this is by having, a number of different people involved in your organization, it really builds alignment. So this becomes, a collective and collaborative. This is our roadmap. This is why we're doing these Kaizens and focusing on these areas going forward. And equally important to build an understanding of why we didn't choose some other areas, because there's always more things that you could do than you want to focus on in a given 12-month period. So it's really a great atmosphere to build that alignment. So one of the things that we do, we have a pre-work checklist that we will provide to you usually about 4 weeks ahead of doing the on-site work, and this really just is a way to help to optimize the site on-site time, so that we have a good sense of where there are issues, where there's inventory buildups, and just whether inventory is even a problem by kind of looking at the days on hand and the trends and those types of things. So it's just a way to make sure that everybody has data when we start the week, and we're basing all of our decisions, all of our calculations are going to be based on your data, your costs, your cost per head count, your overhead costs, whatever it is, would all be directly related to this data collection. So the next few slides, I'll just go through some of these various analyses that we go through. But one of them is just looking at a customer Pareto. So primary reason to do this is we want to, in this case, you can see the 80% of the sales volume is concentrated in a very small number of customers, about 30. And we want to make sure that we're focusing on the area of the plant that matters the most, which value stream or value streams really drive the volume in the plant. And if we make improvements in those, we're going to make a real difference in the plant. It's a way to get everybody, start to align everybody on maybe why we're not focusing in some other areas. A similar chart. This is another Pareto, but it's by part number. And again, this helps us to identify, what are the high volume product lines or part families that you have in the plant, and we want to make sure that we're focusing on those. Sometimes this also helps to draw a little bit of focus to how much of the plant is dedicated to that tail of part numbers or customers. That's that long, flat tail towards the right of this chart. Because sometimes there's opportunities there, and that's sometimes where we identify a value-added value engineering opportunity to look at some of that tail and try to find move customers into some of the higher volume parts, and possibly with some redesign efforts, but that can be open up a tremendous amount of capacity sometimes and actually release a lot of costs that are hidden in servicing those low volume part numbers. So, another thing that we typically do is a process map, and we'll do this in specific areas, not for every process in the plant, but just to make sure where we start to see there might be some opportunities. And this is very insightful. A recent one we did found that there were over 40 handoffs in the process to get a sales order entered, get POs issued to vendors, and get a product received into the warehouse. In this particular business, on-time delivery was not good. It was critical in the market they were in, and they were eating up almost half, about 45% of their lead time, just getting the order in and getting it visible to planning and manufacturing. So a lot of times this can be very, process maps and key areas can provide that kind of insight and get everyone aligned on why is it important that we address this in this area. As I mentioned, we look at the manufacturing cost structure, really try to just, this is more, again, of an alignment. It's like, where do we spend our money? Where are the big pools of spending that we could have an impact on, and make sure that we're kind of talking about those. And this, it can be, very specific to, people look at numbers in different ways, but a lot of times this helps to say, well, there's really not that much spend in that particular area, so let's spend less time there and focus more where we have bigger pools of costs that we can hopefully have an impact on. This is just an example of one of the inventory charts that we tend to take a look at, which just shows the trends of inventory over time. It's broken up by raw material, work in process, and finished goods. We did one of these in a packaging division of a medical diagnostics company, and the analysis showed they had over 200 days of inventory on hand with about 140 days in WIP. And this analysis set up the importance of setup time reduction so they could run smaller lot sizes. So with some work on that, and also we installed a pull system to pull product through their manufacturing plant and actually reach back into the supply chain to pull materials into the manufacturing process. Within 2 months after we did this RPA, we started to see inventory declining in terms of days on hand at the rate of 5 to 10 days per month, and that's been going on for the past 6 months. So just by having clear visibility of how much inventory they had and where it was, really helped to build the case for the importance of reducing their setup and changeover times and putting a pull system in place. Whoops, too fast there. So another thing we do is a value stream map, and a value stream map is a really good tool. It's very high level, so it's not a process map. It's kind of, we say, the 30,000 foot view. So you can just see the general landscape, but it really focuses on identifying bottlenecks, quality issues, machine uptime issues, looking for cycle time versus takt time requirements in areas of the plant. So each box is could be many different steps in a cell or on a manufacturing line. If there's no handoffs, we just think of it as one process box. But the idea of this is to take that high level view and build a vision, a paper vision of what the plant looks like, both from material flow, information flow and use that to identify non-value added activities and waste activities that can be eliminated. And it helps us to target, okay, where are the opportunities? And then we might go a little bit deeper into one of those and say, hey, let's do a quick process map, in this area and just confirm that, yeah, what we thought was there is really a good opportunity for us. So, but by doing this, value stream map does really three things. I always think of this, is one, it gives you that visual representation so everybody can see. And almost always when you do one of these, you find some really silly things that you're like, I can't believe we actually do that. And you can just change that tomorrow. But the bigger things are usually harder to change and will require Kaizen events. But you get that visual representation. You build alignment and consensus because sometimes we're going to say, hey, we need the materials function to change and do something more so that overall it reduces the amount of work in the whole process. And everybody kind of arrives at that together and it gives you that alignment on your path forward. Some other tools, so we often do a spaghetti diagram. This is kind of a plant level view of a spaghetti diagram. But it's amazing, as new products are added and old products increase or decrease their need for space, plants are constantly making changes. And what happens is you get some real waste and inefficiency built into the plant. So doing this type of a high level diagram can help everybody to see, hey, are there any big opportunities here because we see a lot of waste, a lot of redundant moving of materials and products as they go come into the plant and then leave. So after kind of later in the process, as we've done all these analyses, we start to build the future state vision, and we really try to make sure that everybody understands and do a little bit of training on what are some of those lean attributes that we want to build into the future state that will help us to address some of the waste and non-value added activities that we found as we went throughout all these various analyses. Things, many things listed here: inventory at point of use, just-in-time inventory, Kanban, establishing flow, having standard work in place, those types of things. But this we typically do, kind of on a brown paper, getting everybody, input and aligning, and you can move things around until you get kind of a general consensus that this is what we think the future could look like. Then we typically want to kind of document this future state value stream map so that everybody has a clear vision, both the physical flow of goods and services as well as the electronic flow of information, from sales into the plant and from the plant back to suppliers and out to various planning points in the plant. So this gets everybody aligned on where are we going, why are we making these changes, and what can be the benefit. How much could this reduce our lead time? How much could this reduce our inventory? How much could this reduce our costs as we develop this future state? So another thing, what we do typically is out of that high level plant flow analysis is look for opportunities, kind of bigger opportunities. What if we moved things around? Is there a different way to do this? Are there some real opportunities where we could make a big impact on the amount of waste and material movement, hauling in a plant by moving some things around? Because if you have that vision, you may not choose to do it right at once, but if you have a vision for where you're going, then as required moves come into place, you can start having the dominoes fall into an overall vision. At one large plant that we did this as, a 240,000 square foot plant, the team identified the concept of a milk run to replenish supermarkets from the warehouse throughout the plant. And there was about 150 different manufacturing cells in this plant. And then that same milk run also returned products from all of those cells to shipping and or the warehouse. So that Kaizen event that was identified to develop this milk run concept and create stations for, dropping off and doing transactions on inventory and picking it up, reduced the need for material handlers by 60%. And those people were redeployed to other functions. And in the current state like today, if you can, find labor inside and redeploy it because you made something more efficient, that can be very valuable. So I mentioned the brown paper process. So this is typically where we actually take an order and follow it, kind of print it off or do print screens and say, okay, what happens when a customer gives us an order and we get with sales or order entry and they tell us what their process is as a team and we identify waste. That's what some of the sticky notes are on this chart as we go through or quality issues or opportunities. And then we say, okay, so then it goes to planning. What does planning do? You look at their screens, print them out, print off maybe the number of different planning orders that come out of a typical customer order, and follow that all the way through the transactions as well as the paper trail or electronic trail. And that's another way of really driving some consensus around some of those feeding processes into manufacturing and what needs to change in order to drive improvement. This is sometimes where you can see the opportunity of how much of your lead time is being eaten up by sales and order entry or application engineering before the order even gets into the point where it can be manufactured or planned. So another, always, looking at quality and whatever, could be scrap or rework or whatever it is, but, we often do, Pareto's of plant-wide scrap, looking at an appropriate period of time. You want to be careful with looking at scrap because we always think of in recency, we had a problem with this product, but when you look back over an appropriate period of time, sometimes it redirects you to where the biggest opportunities are. Sometimes, these types of scrap and defect analyses will lead you to, we really need to have better standardized work and training and, fixtures and whatever. So we target an area of the plant or several areas that we want to go in and create that standardized work, the visual documentation, as well as working with the people that are doing the work to understand what's the best way to do it, what do they struggle with, how can we improve that process. I mentioned the productivity tour study earlier. So this is typically where we'll take a number of 30 to 40 key points that we've identified in the value stream map or plant walkthrough or brown paper that are kind of pinch points, potential bottlenecks or whatever, and just go and do a survey. We'll typically go 6 times in a day and just make a quick walk and say, is it operating? Is it doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing? Or is it down, red, or is it yellow? It's at some stage in between. It's not down, but it's not operating at designed plan and speed. And so it gives you a quick overall sense of like, how well are we doing? And it's surprising the number of times where there's a clear bottleneck and everybody thinks that we're managing the heck out of it. But when you do this, you find out that, 3 or 4 times out of 6, it's down. So we might be thinking we're managing it, but we're not being effective. And so it really can help to focus on, okay, where are those key bottleneck points that we need to focus on and make sure that we can improve that uptime and availability so that it either releases capacity that's already constraining or doesn't become a capacity constraint as we push volume through the plant. This is another just, as we think about takt time and cycle times, one of the things we always look for is, where there's an operation that the cycle time is significantly below the takt time. So there may be opportunities for this work cell or space to do more, to have more in it so that we don't have that wasted opportunity there. This is just a spaghetti flow process of looking at the number of steps in a process on a particular line. So sometimes it can draw out that complexity of what's really going on and why does it seem we're struggling in an area. see the animation here of all the different opportunities for lost time in this process. All right. So another one, we'll typically do is, if distribution or loading, is a key part of your process, we'll do an analysis where we just observe a truck being loaded and look for opportunities. In this case, this was one that, there was a lot of congestion in the shipping area. There were lot dates that needed to be, make sure we ship out the oldest lot first, and there was a searching time. It was a two-person job, but the first person was, very fully loaded, and the second person, we had a lot of waste time or operator waiting time in there. So it was a great observation, and you can just kind of see the flow of materials, the flow of the operators, and the congestion. So this drove an opportunity to have a Kaizen event and really develop standard work for how containers were loaded in the plant. And this is, so we're just about done here, but this is what the output looks like. So we, as the team works together, we identify all these opportunities to make improvements via Kaizen events or a few longer term projects. They're identified and prioritized based on the KPIs that are important to your plant. We quantify the savings in terms of direct labor, indirect labor, or other savings. Often we have inventory on this chart if that's an important issue that we're trying to address in a plant. But the key is that we have a clear set of, okay, here's the next 9 things that we want to do. Here's when we're going to do them, how long they're going to take, what tool we're going to use, and we get those scheduled out so that the planning starts right away and you start working through those Kaizen events. And you have an expectation of what the savings is going to be. And so that's part of the way that they were prioritized and put on the list. Okay, so that, I think the overall, rapid plan analysis is, from a case study of ours, but there was a, medical devices plant that we identified over 20 million in savings across 2 plants from rapid plan analysis. And we have a case study on this. It was a very high ROI, 10 to 1 on from the consulting costs and the costs that they put into it. So it was a huge opportunity for them. And as we worked through that, they actually achieved it. So they were very, very happy with the end results. And I think that, key again is just that this is something we're going to work with your team and teach you how to do so that it can be something that you rinse and repeat, once a year to keep developing that lean journey for your plant. So with that, that is my last slide. So I will open it up if anyone has any questions.